Welcome to our Sunday morning worship with the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of York. I'm Lisa Paulos, and I will be helping to lead the service today. I've been a member of this congregation since we moved here in 2007, and I would like to say that this place was a place of welcoming and acceptance and friendship, particularly for our children who participated in the RE program. Our congregational mission is one of spiritual transformation, of work for a more just and equitable world, and of education and engagement for people of all ages. We welcome you, whether it is your first time with us or you have been with us for weeks, months, or years. We welcome you in person and we welcome you online. The chalice, the symbol of our living faith. If you are joining us online, you may wish to light a candle or a chalice of your own. I invite you to hear today's chalice lighting words, December Meditation by Reverend Burton D. Carley. Reverend Carley's original meditation was named for the month of September, but we have only changed that one word. I do not know if the seasons remember their history, or if the days and nights by which we count time remember their own passing. I do not know if the oak tree remembers its planting, or if the pine remembers its slow climb toward the sun and stars. I do not know if the squirrel remembers last fall's gathering, or the blue jay remembers the meaning of snow. I do not know if the air remembers December or if the night remembers the moon. I do not know if the earth remembers the flowers from last spring or if the evergreen remembers that it shall stay so. Perhaps that is the reason for our births, to be the memory for creation. Perhaps salvation is something very different than anyone ever expected. Perhaps this will be the only question we will have to answer. What can you tell me about December?
Take
reading this morning is Dead Stars by United States Poet Laureate Ada Limon. Dead stars. Out here, there's a bowing even the trees are doing, winter's icy hand at the back of all of us. Black bark, slick yellow leaves, a kind of stillness that feels so mute it's almost in another year. I am a hearth of spiders these days, a nest of trying. We point out the stars that make Orion as we take out the trash, the rolling containers, a song of suburban thunder. It's almost romantic as we adjust the waxy blue recycling bin until you say, man, we should really learn some new constellations. And it's true. We keep forgetting about Antlia, Centaurus, Draco, Lacerta, Hydra, Lyra, Lynx, but mostly we're forgetting dead stars too. My mouth is full of dust, and I wish to reclaim the rising, to lean in the spotlight of streetlight with you toward what's larger within us, toward how we were born. Look, we are not unspectacular things. We've come this far, survived this much. What would happen if we decided to survive more, to love harder? What if we stood up with our synapses and flesh and said, no, no to the rising tides, stood for the many mute mouths of the sea, of the land? What would happen if we used our bodies to bargain for the safety of others, for Earth, if we declared a clean night, if we stopped being terrified? If we launched our demands into the sky, made ourselves so big people could point to us with the arrows they make in their minds, rolling their trash bins out after all this is over. That's it.
Thank you, Lisa. It's one of my very favorite poems. When I was little, my family had a Yule Log tradition. We had needed to cut down a very large weeping willow tree in our backyard, and the logs that we made from it were huge, and they would burn for hours and hours, though not for 12 days. On Christmas Eve, my family would decorate the log. We would merrily staple on ribbons and bows and wrapping paper to make it festive. And on Christmas morning, my father would put it on the fire and keep the fire going all day and much of the night. One main reason that I remember this is all of these photos in the family albums, and my mother would write captions for them when she had the time. And one year in particular, I remember that there was a picture of the decorated log immediately after it was placed on the fire, and under it, my mother wrote, "I got dressed up for this." Does anybody else have holiday traditions, little things they remember specifically from whatever? There's something like 14 faith traditions around the globe have some sort of very special holiday in the month of December. Does anybody have a favorite little memory or a little story or a little tradition from your childhood, whatever December meant? Ellen?
We used to wake up to top volume the Hallelujah chorus from the Messiah, but we knew when the Messiah came on, the Hallelujah chorus, that we could get up and the morning began.
And what time was that? How long did they make you stay in your room?
A plenty long time.
Yep, okay. When you're young, yep. So for those on Zoom, since it wasn't amplified, Ellen's mother had they were allowed, when she was little, they were allowed to sneak out and get their stockings, but no one was allowed to come out of the room and come start Christmas on Christmas morning until her mother played the Messiah and it got to Hallelujah chorus at top volume. So that's amazing. Anyone else have a little something, little memory they'd share? Because making and decorating. Sand tart cookie. What is a sand tart cookie? Look, I get to learn. I get to learn, y'all. I'm not. Yes. What? Please tell me. What is a sand tart cookie? Just a sugar cookie with decoration. So it's a very thin, and it's crisp, I assume, once it's cooked and it's decorated. Okay. That is not a kind of cookie I knew. I'm learning. We learn when we share with each other. Walking through snow to midnight mass, followed by 2 a.m. dinner. Wow, that's amazing. I remember going to midnight mass. I hated it. So Emily's whole family, aunts, uncles, cousins, everybody all got together, went to church, and then even on Christmas Eve, they got to do presents from the aunts and uncles and Jubilee Log from Friendly's, which is an ice cream cake that looks like a Yule log, right? Like it's a chocolate swirl. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Everybody has a different tradition. Everybody's family was different. My family was much smaller. My parents did not choose to wake us up with the Messiah. But we go back to the reading. Does the evergreen remember that it shall stay so? Perhaps, if it hears us telling stories around it every year, if we go out into the woods and whisper our stories to the trees, the winter birds, the gray skies and dark rivers, we will remind them and ourselves that we are the memory of creation. We are the moment of creation knowing itself. But who remembers and retells the stories of the constellations? And anyway, there's so many that we forget when we point to Orion and both dippers, perhaps for a moment remembering doomed prophetess Cassiopeia when we spot the clusters of her throne in the sky. What memory do the constellations serve now when every day we receive magnificent new images from the James Webb Space Telescope, opening us new views of the world that make us catch our breath, that leave us nearly paralyzed with wonder? How on earth can we possibly name these magnificent celestial creations? The names aren't for the stars. The names are for us. The stories are for us. The constellations are for us to guide us through the unfamiliar. By light of the constellations, wayfinders traced a path across the boundless span of the Pacific Ocean. Explorers navigated never-before-seen forests where the grand evergreens heard and held their fears and nerves. And those wayfinders and explorers told stories again and again and named the stars in the way that best suited their own place and time. So why not new ones? Why not new names, new constellations, new signposts, encouraging those that come after us? Try this way. Or maybe not that way. We tried it. We learned. We did better. What if we decided to survive more, to love harder, and to leave signposts? The end of the poem is, what if we stood up with our synapses and flesh and said no, no to the rising tides? What if we were to say a prayer for the wind and the water and the wood and those who live there too, and then added action to that prayer, an embodied prayer for earth, for the entirety of creation of which we are only a part? In the moment of creation knowing itself, all parts of that creation must be part of the memory making. The stories we tell, the stars we name, and every tree we whisper to, whether in dark woods or brightly lit parking lots, they're a part of that knowing too. The stories we tell, the signposts we make, the way we communicate all that's gone before to make a way for the path to come. Perhaps there will come a time when we are called to answer, what can you tell me about December? Maybe, just maybe, we can say, in the cold light of December, we learned we can survive more and we can love harder. May it be so.
Please join us in extinguishing our chalice and your home chalices, if you have lit them, with these words. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.